Chelsea, and welcome to Yoga Basics. We're going to go through a very basic class today that will touch all the components of a yoga class: the breath, the warm-up, the standing poses, a balance, and then we'll come back down to the mat and do a few seated poses, just for you to get a feeling of what a class might contain. But more importantly, it's not about the poses, it's about understanding how you build the pose within your body. You don't take your body and make it into the pose, the asana. You use the pose or the asana to find your body. So we use the asana to find our body and connect with ourselves. And so that's what we're going to do this morning. We're just going to connect with ourselves. We leave the rest of the world out. Let it do what it's going to do, because we're going to focus inward. And the first thing that we do when we sit down in a yoga class is you'll see everybody cross their legs, and for you that might be really painful, and you'll say, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I can't sit like that. The easiest thing to do is to sit on a pillow or to sit up, because when you raise yourself up and you put your hips higher than your knees, it makes you more comfortable. And even that might not be comfortable. Maybe you have to sit with your legs out like this, and that's fine too, but you always want to sit up so that your spine is long. And that's one of the things that we've talked about in all the other yoga basic classes, that we have to have a long spine in our postures so that the energy flows. It's like a hose that the water goes through, and if it's pinched or crunched or not straight, then the energy or the water can't flow through the hose. So we start, no matter where your legs are, we usually start in a seated posture with our hips above our knees, and we find our seat, which sounds funny, but you find those sit bones and you sit on your sit bones, and you build from the earth up. So what that means is my seat is rooted into the earth, and then I lengthen my spine and I take my head towards the sky, just like a flower or a tree. And sometimes to do that, I need to release my shoulders just a little bit, move around, and that's what we'll do in our warm-up. But feeling your spine like a trunk of a tree, lengthened, connected to the earth, but also lengthened and lifted to the sky. And that might mean sometimes for some people as well that they want to put blocks underneath their knees. That's even better. That helps a lot. So in a yoga class, no matter what the teacher is teaching, you want to make yourself comfortable. And that might mean whatever needs to happen, right? Okay, so now we're going to go inside. We've set ourselves up on the outside, and now we go inside. And going inside is the most important part, because in a yoga class, we play from the inside out, as opposed to regular exercise is out, in. In yoga, we connect with ourselves and we facilitate and feel from the inside and let it express out. So that means sitting tall and closing our eyes and going inside like a turtle, pulling your limbs in, or just like that turtle does, inside, pulling your awareness inside and feeling. And that's our gift as a human being, is to feel. Because it's in feeling we can decide whether it feels good or it doesn't, it honors us or it doesn't. So as I pull inside, I'm going to take a few breaths. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And inhale and exhale. And one more time, inhale and exhale. And why am I doing that? I'm doing that to release the tension, to take off a few layers of tension off my body. Because the breath, we hold our tension, we tend to look like this. We go to bed at night, we look like this. We wake up, we look like this. So here we are, releasing the tension And we can really relax on this beautiful spine that we have lifted. And even then, it takes a little bit more of awareness just to feel, what am I feeling? So there's all kinds of breath and exercises we do in the beginning of class. And one of the basics ones is we take a deep breath, we inhale, and then we tighten the entire body. We squeeze tighter, and then we exhale. And that squeezes the tension out of the muscles. Inhale again. Squeeze toes to nose to top of head. Squeeze tighter. Squeezing that tension out of the body, and then release. One more time. Inhale. Squeeze, tighten, tighter. And then release. And then I always bring my hands to my heart, honoring my heart as the true facilitator of my practice, and not my head, but my heart, because my heart is where I feel. And we feel into our heart, and we recognize that we are a multi-level being. In other words, we have a body, we have the emotions, we have feelings, we have thoughts, but we also have a spirit. So we connect with our heart and feel that feeling, and breathe into that feeling. And then we'll begin to move with the breath. In a yoga class, the breath and the movement are married. They're one. They dance together. So we hardly ever move without breathing. And the awareness of the breath is essential. And we can hear our breath as it passes over our throat. And that's called the Ujjayi breath. So we inhale and we take our arms up. And we fill our lungs up beautifully, and then we exhale. And I always liken this to smoothing out my layers. And then I touch the earth and I ground myself. And then I inhale up. And I exhale down. And again, it's as if I'm just peeling away at some layers of stress. Inhale. And exhale. And one more time, we're going to inhale. And this time we're going to bring our hands to our heart. Exhale. Now in a yoga class, you might do quite a lot of breathing like so. We're going to go ahead and start warming up. So sometimes for me, that means I don't need the blocks. I don't want the blocks right now, but I'm going to go put my hands on my knees, and I'm going to pull my belly in around my spine and take my chin to my chest, and then I'm going to pull my elbows to my waist and lift my heart. So this, again, breathing. Exhale, my spine is rounding. Inhale, my spine is lifting. Exhale, round, and inhale, lift. And I'm going to turn to the side so you can watch this from the side, because it's pretty. The yogis say that a flexible spine is a youthful spine. So it looks like this from the side. We call this rounding and lifting. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Let's do this one more time, although you'd probably do this a little bit longer to get that body warmed up. And then you'll come up. And then for the next place, I'll tell the class, put your hands behind you and bring your knees up. And here we're going to take a gentle spinal twist. We're going to twist our legs to the left and look to the right. And then knees to the right and look to the left. And I might need to pull the pillow away for that. And you can do that a few times, just moving opposite, but keeping the spine lifted, because if I drop my spine, I don't get the twist. So that is not the twist. Twist is your spine is lifted. Here. And there. And then there's usually a few other warm-ups that we'll do. Perhaps sitting tall, placing your hands by your hips. This looks real simple. It's a little tougher. You pull your toes back towards your nose, lift your heels off the ground. It's going to stretch the back of your calves. And we want to warm our body up before we ask it to really move. But warming up doesn't mean you really stretch as much as you warm up, because you don't stretch a cold muscle. So I'm warming my body up here, and then I'm opening and closing, just kind of moving. Motion is lotion. And that's how we get the body warmed up with the breath. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and flip around on all fours. This is a really important component of Yoga Basics, and it is the cat-cow tilt. So this is called a neutral spine, and I have a stack, a shoulder, elbow, wrist, always a stack, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip on top of knee. This is neutral, where my belly is pulled up. I have a flat back. And then I'm going to tuck my tail under and pull my head in. This is called the cat stretch. I'm pushing into my hands and my knees. That's rounding that spine. Then I'm going to lift my tail, shoulders away from the ears. This is called cow. And we really want to get the cat-cow going here. Because again, motion is lotion, and the hips. The motion starts in the hips, and the last thing that happens is the head. And I breathe, rounding and lifting. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round. Inhale, lift. And there might be lots of variations that we would do with this, but for now I'm going to show you one of my favorite, downward facing puppy. I keep my tail in the cow tilt, and I walk my hands out here to stretch my shoulders. Now maybe my shoulders are tight, so I'm only going to go this far, or maybe not. Maybe I'm working into the breath or breathing into the tightness, but I'm definitely staying relaxed. And I'm not forcing, but I'm lengthening my spine. Pressing my hands into the earth, I'm lengthening and breathing. And then moving my body side to side. Feeling my way through this. And if it doesn't feel good, then I don't do it. That's called that downward facing puppy. Now I can notice that my hips are still on top of my knees. Now I'm going to drop my hips back to my heels, which might be comfortable for some, but might not be for others. And if that isn't for you, this is the child's pose. You can always put a pillow or a blanket here, and it helps you in a child's pose. And you can also put a block right here, because this is an important place to be able to go in relaxation, is the child's pose. Whether it looks like this, or whether it looks like this. But we always come to the child's pose, because that's a place where we come to rest and to regroup and to integrate and to feel what we've just done. So we might spend some time in a child's pose, but again, we're getting warmed up. So now we're going to walk our hands out. I'm going to start my first downward facing dog, placing my hands into the mat, pressing the pads of my hands into the mat, and I start with a cow tilt. I lift my tail, push in, and I really open those shoulders. I look to my navel. Now, since it's my first one, I'm going to pedal my heels. Everybody thinks that the downward facing dog means you have to have straight legs. If I have straight legs, I'm going to lose my cow tilt to a cat tilt, and I want to bend my knees so that I can really lengthen the spine. So it's not about the straight legs here, it's about bent knees and lengthened here and relaxed shoulders. I breathe, I look to my navel, eventually my heels start to work their way, but this is a good place to get warmed up. And then we'll stay there for a while, and then I'm going to drop to my knees, and I want to get my back going the opposite way. Inhale, arms out and up. And for me, I have to make sure to tuck my tail under into a cat tilt. And I'm going to grab hold of my elbows and pull up and in and lift to my heart. So here my bowl, my pelvic bowl, is very level. I can't be pushing my tail out. I have to tuck it under and pull up here, because the back bend happens only from the waist up. The back bend doesn't happen in the lower spine. So we here, or maybe here, to breathe and feel, or maybe it's here. But whatever it is, you're pushing your tail under and pulling the pubic bone up. Breathing here. Feeling. Not forcing. And then maybe the other side. Again, I have to tuck that tail and pull my heart up, whatever that is. And then I might need to come back down here to a child's pose after to give my back a rest. Breathing. And I'm going to move on here. We're going to come to a standing position. And from here, we're going to do some half sun salutations. So I always, in my yoga practice, build from the ground up. I don't want to start up here. So the first thing I do is connect with the earth. I pick my toes up and I place them into the earth. And yeah, I'm a little wobbly, so that's normal. So I ground into the earth. I connect to the earth. And in doing that, I squeeze my thighs together without tension, because we've talked about the cat-cow tilt, and squeezing the thighs will ground you into the earth. You rotate those thighs out. Pelvic bowl is level, belly's lifted up. I'm building from the ground up. I'm going to take my shoulders and roll them up and back so my heart's lifted. And my chin is parallel to the floor and my face and jaw relaxed. And then we just feel, close our eyes, and find the balance, find the center. And usually you go like this, because just like riding, learning how to ride a two-wheeler, when you're training wheels and you're, where's center? And you start to find center and then you lose center. But finding it within side first and then finding that balance. Lifting your head finally to the sun, and there it is. The balance of up and down. Breathing. Without straining. We never strain in yoga, but everybody tries to strain in life. And this is why the practice is so good, not to strain, but to feel. All right. So this is called mountain pose, and this is the foundation of all standing poses. This feeling of being rooted and yet being lifted and balanced. You could stay in mountain pose for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, you'd probably, and you would get as much out of it as if you were standing on your head, because that's how much awareness it takes to be active without straining. All right, we're going to move on then. You open your eyes, and we're going to take our arms out and up. And lifting up, I have to pull my belly up to support my arms now. And then I'm going to take a side bend. So I'm going to take my right arm down and my left arm over. Reaching over. Now I don't collapse here. Remember, I always keep everything long, and I breathe. And I'm lengthening, and then I come up and another stretch. So in a yoga class, you're going to do a lot of side stretches. You know, be mindful not to do this either. That's not a side stretch. The shoulder is back. So you rotate the shoulders so that you're getting a long alignment. That's the #1 mistake I see. And I also see this or this, and that hurts your neck. So you don't want to do that. Keep everything in alignment. You're always staying stacked. But you can't know, you have to feel, and then come back. So a half sun salutation, we do forward bends in them. And what happens is you take your arms out and up. And again, I'm going to do a forward bend, and we talked about forward bends, which means I'm going to do a cow tilt, which the bend happens right here, right at the top of my thighs. And I soften my knees as I go down, and I keep lengthening my spine because I'm bending right here. And when I bring myself down, I can soften my knees. And then I bring myself up on my shins. I still have that cow tilt happening. And the shoulders are away from the ears, and I breathe here. And then I drop back down. Push into my feet, building from the ground up. I come up, I I got that mountain pose happening, squeezing my thighs together. I'm going to take a gentle back bend, which means I'm going to take a cat tilt, and then exhale back. Inhale up, and bring my hands to my heart. That's 1/2 sun salutation. So we'll do that again. Arms out and up. Then we cow tilt, swan dive down. Whatever down is, I let my knees soften. I inhale up on my shins with that cow tilt still happening. Exhale down. Arms out and up as I press into the earth. Sometimes I'll put a cat tilt and a back bend there, depending on what the teacher asks or how you're guided. And so that's 2 half sun salutations. This gets your body really warmed up. It's a great thing to do in the morning. One more time, arms out and up. Swan dive down, cow tilt. Cow tilt as I come up on the shins and down, and arms out and up. Take a gentle back bend, I cat tilt, and up, and hands to heart. And I breathe, and I feel, and the energy's going. So you might do 3 of them, you might do 10 of them. But nonetheless, your body, it moves every joint in your body, and that's what's so great about half sun salutations. Now we're going to do a couple versions of a full sun salutation. My back is warmed up. I've got the back bend and the forward bend going. So I'm going to do this nice and slow, but so we can just watch how it's done. This is one version of a full sun salutation. Arms out and up. I'm very aware of my mountain pose. I cow tilt and swan dive down. I inhale up on my shins. Remember, breath and movement are together. 1, exhale down. I'm going to step back with my right foot and then my left foot, and I'm going to come into my downward facing dog. Breathing here, letting the energy flow and not strain. And then I can come to what's called a high plank position. Now here I am, shoulders on top of the hands. That might be too much. So you drop your knees, but I still have to keep my belly up and in. Now I'm going to lower my body to the earth, and the key here is to keep my shoulders relaxed, but my elbows right by my body, which initially, until you get some upper body strength, is the challenge. Here we are in a low cobra. So however you get your body down, just do it gently. Low cobra is my elbows are pulling back to my waist. My chin is tucked under. My heels are pressing towards one another. I don't want to strain. I can almost lift my hands off. Low cobra might be here. Eventually you make your way up to a higher cobra, but there's no contest. It doesn't matter where your cobra is. What matters is that your elbows are in and not out. This is the most important thing. So I come to my cobra and I breathe. And if that's too much, I can come to a sphinx pose. Shoulders on top of elbows, chin tucked under, head goes towards the sky. And I'm here. All right, and then we bring our hands back down right by our chest. That's really important that your hands are placed by your chest when you're pushing back. And I can either go to my child's pose, or if I'm feeling a little bit more rigorous, I can go to my downward facing dog. But I'm breathing. And then I can walk my feet up between my hands and then just allow myself to have a meltdown. My knees are soft. Then I push into my feet and take my arms up, out, and hands to heart. And breathe. Now you could do 5 or 10 of them and you would get a great workout. Some of the yogis in their practices do 108 of them in a day, in a practice, and that, needless to say, that's intense, But that's how wonderful just that simple sun salutation is. Now I'm going to add some lunges, and I'm going to have you get an understanding of what does a lunge look like, especially from the side, because it's really important. And we do lunges in Yoga Basics, but I'm going to use my friends, the blocks, because initially, sometimes you don't have the flexibility to get your hands to the floor. All right, so here we go. There's another version, arms out and up. And then I'm going to swan dive down with that cow tilt. And I bend my knees as much as I have to. This time I'm going to place the blocks right by my feet, because I know I'm getting ready to step back with my right foot. And I put my hands on the blocks. Now my knee has to be right on top of my ankle. And I can drop my back leg, and this really gives me support. What I don't want is this. I don't want my knee past my foot. I might want to bring my foot out further. In fact, it's better to put it further and have that knee back a little bit. All right, and we stay here, but the thing is you want to start to work the lunge here, and eventually you work it here. But I have to really pull in my inner thighs together, and eventually it's here. But in order to get this here, this has to be really strong. So don't try to lift your arms until your lower body is stable. And then we bring our arms down, and we bring that left foot back. And then we can either go to downward facing dog, or child's pose, or downward facing puppy. And then we're going to come through to a high plank position like we did before, which is shoulders on top of the hands, and we lower down, and then push the tops of those feet on the earth, and push up. Try not to keep the elbows out, keep the elbows in, belly up and in, whatever up is for you. But eventually your back will accommodate. And then we're going to drop back down. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. We'll be back to child's pose. And then I'm going to grab my blocks, because I'm going to get ready to bring my right foot forward. I always have a party and I say, right foot, you're invited, but I might have to help you. So here we are. Foot comes out. Remember, this time I brought my right foot forward. I bring my knee on top of my ankle, and I just breathe here into my hips. I breathe. I feel. When I feel secure, I can bring it here. When I feel secure, I can bring it arms up. And I breathe and I feel. And I tuck my tail and I lift my heart. And then I bring my hands down. Now here's the biggest secret in yoga. The next thing we're going to do is bring our left leg forward. But if I try to bring my left foot forward and I just try to drag that foot, it's really, really hard. So I'm having a party at the top of my mat. I'm inviting my left foot. And what I want to do is turn my toe under, get my hips up out of the way, and then my left foot can come forward. See that? So get your hips up out of the way when you're going to bring your back foot forward. And then the arms come out like we've been doing. And then we bring our hands to our heart. And we go inside and we feel. Just feel. So that's what a half sun salutation is and a full sun salutation. Now I'm going to go through just a couple of standing poses so we can put them in, but to get still the understanding of the balance, starting it from the earth up. So sometimes we do what's called Warrior One. And the best way to see Warrior One and to understand Warrior One, Virabhadrasana One, is that everything's in alignment. So I'm going to begin by stepping back with my left foot. But when I do that, I want to bring my heels in alignment but I want to bring my hips front. So that might mean taking this left foot over a little bit, so I'm like on railroad ties, or turning the left toe towards the front. So here I am. I have to find my foundation. I pick my toes up and I place them into the earth. I'm going to move these blocks. I find my foundation. I pretend I'm squeezing my thighs together. My pelvic bowl is level, and I bend my right knee. So I have my stack. I'm pushing the back of my left foot into the earth, and my spine is long. Remember the pipeline. Pressing in here, I have my foundation. Once I have that, it's the same principle. I take my arms out and up. This is Warrior One. Warrior One means that my hips, chest, shoulders, face are all facing the same direction. Here. I'm strong. My muscles are hugging the bones, but I'm not so tight that I'm fighting. I'm just flowing with energy and strength and awareness. And this takes practice to really be balanced because, you know, it's all over the place, and be patient with yourself. Find your foundation first, here, and then lift. Now sometimes from Warrior One, we go into what's called Warrior Two. So I would bring my hands to my heart here, and notice that my hips are facing front. The difference between 1 and 2 is that 1, my hips are front, and I'm going to turn out now to 2. I'm going to turn my body to the side. The only thing that happened was my knee remained the same, but my hips now turn to the side. Now, from here, I want to check my alignment, that my heels are in line with one another. The pelvic bowl is level and not torqued. So that means I have to tuck my tail under and engage my abdominals. Same principles. I build from the ground up, muscles hug the bones. I'm not squeezing so I'm so tense. I want to be a pillar of strength, but a presence rather than a block. So here we look down our right fingertips. We might take our palms up to relax our shoulders and down. But I'm pushing my right knee out rather than letting it drop down. I'm pushing it out, which takes the flex. I need flexibility in my thighs to do that. So patience with yourself again. This is Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2. Now I can take my forearm to my thigh. A lot of times the class will go into what's called extended angle pose. This is a version. Another version would be to use your block, pushing in the block, but notice I don't collapse. You don't want to collapse the side of your spine. You want to lengthen. So whatever that is, to lengthen. And maybe you can't take your arm over your ear. Maybe it's down here in the beginning. But I'm pushing against my thigh to get the opening there. This is extended angle pose. This is back. This is Warrior Two. Now I'm going to take another pose. This is called triangle. What's the difference between triangle and Warrior Two? Well, watch my front leg. I'm going to straighten my front leg. I'm going to take my hip and pull it out towards the back as I lengthen here as much as I can, tucking my chin, keeping my neck as an alignment up my spine, and taking the balance of up and down. Triangle pose. Now what I see people do all the time is they think they have to go to the floor, so they drop here, and look at my hip, I'm all crunched over. I want the length rather than the crunch. Tucking my tail, breathing. Triangle. You can take your arm over your ear, up or down or around. It's your practice, but what I'm actually doing is pushing into my shin to lengthen my spine. That's what I'm doing rather than trying to get to the floor. And then inhale, up. And then I can bend my knee, come back to Warrior Two. And then sometimes we'll rotate back. This is Exalted Warrior. So I lift myself up. I've got strong foundation. And then come up. Now I'm just going to go ahead and transition from here. I'm going to take a forward bend. So my feet are parallel at this point, and the bend happens right here. And I'm going to place my fingers behind me in what's called steeple mudra, or I can place my hands here. But the point of it is that my spine is long. So I inhale, lengthen, press into the earth, and I bend at that same spot we've been bending the whole time. Right there, 90 degrees, breathing. I've got a cow tilt happening. And I might use my block to place my hands down as I drop myself down. Cow tilting and lengthening down. And then I find the balance between forward and back on my toes. And I breathe here. Or I can take my hands out, use the block, however you use or need the block. And then I'm going to bend my knees to come out of this, to press into my legs and pull my tail under and stack my spine again. Feeling the earth. And now we'll take the whole thing on this side, other side. So here I am, warrior one on this side. Warrior one, hips are front, chest, shoulders. I press into my back leg, there's my strength. If my knee is soft on my back side, I've got no strength here. Pressing down, stacked on the front. Inhale, up, warrior one. And I breathe. And then I bring the hands to the heart. And I turn out to the side, and that's warrior two. I'm kind of going through this a little bit quickly so you get more of the names of them, and you see the difference. So warrior two, and then I can come lengthen down with my knee bent, and that's extended angle. Remember, you could use the block here. But it's always stacked. Look at my knee on top of my foot. Back leg is strong. And then inhale, press up. Now I straighten my front leg. I lengthen here, and this is triangle. And I might hold each of these poses for a minimum of 5 breaths. Just going through it a little bit more quickly now, so we're identifying some of these poses. And it's not about perfection, it's already perfect. Inhale, we press up and bend the knee and take the exalted. It's about feeling and moving the energy in your body. And then come up. And then I'm going to go ahead and face the front. I'm just toe heel my feet in. So we're going to do one balance pose, and then we'll hit the floor. Not literally. That's pretty funny. Okay, we won't literally hit the floor. We'll do a balance pose though. This is called the tree pose. The tree is exactly what it is. We're going to have roots and a trunk, and then reaching up. So I press in to my left foot and I turn my right foot out. Now I'm nice and warmed up in the hips now because I've done all those warriors. I find something to focus on, and I might just put my foot right here on my ankle. And as I squeeze my inner thighs together, I bring my hands to my heart. And then I take my hands up if that's available. But what I don't want is this. I got it. You want to relax and pull that belly up. One of the other a little bit more advanced is to put the foot on the calf and find the focus and breathe. You might spend a long time just finding the balance there. Or more advanced, you'll see people to start to take it all the way up, and different versions. And then you do the other side, pressing into the other foot for balance, turning it. Finding that dristi, which is your gaze. Hips are open now because we've done the other practices. Or maybe you just keep the foot down, and we stay detached from the outcome. Because it's not about a performance, it's a practice. And a wind comes and blows, and you pull it back up and in. And we breathe. You have to be able to breathe in the posture. If you can't breathe, you're trying too hard, and that's a no-no in yoga. It's a no-no in life. Trying too hard, straining. And then we bring it back down. So the practice is, yes, physical, but it's also awareness of, am I judging myself? So there's lots of balance poses that we can do in a Yoga Basics class. That was the tree. There's the eagle and the dancer's bow and all these different ones, but I'm giving you just the idea that when you balance from the earth up, and you have to be equally grounded as well as lifted. And that's the idea in all the balance poses. Okay, now we're going to start to come back to the earth in a gentle way. And I'm going to show you some belly practices first. And I've already explained the Sphinx pose, because we want to try some of this, getting our back used to bending. And we want to be careful not to have this going on, but more push into the elbows and shoulders down the back. Breathing here. Now that might be too much, so your first back bend might look like this. But I still keep my heels pressed towards one another to strengthen the back. Now one of the other things that we learn to do is called a locust pose. Locust can be with your chin on the floor, your hands down by your side. And you can either lift one leg off the floor and stretch it to the back and drop it down, or the other leg stretch it to the back and down. Eventually you'll learn to do both. You might just spend a while with one leg and the other leg. And eventually you'll be able to lift the head and shoulders. Notice my head is not pinched, it's tucked under. You might eventually then begin to lace your fingers and be able to take more of an opening here. But whatever it is, honor yourself. That's locust, and your hands, I'm going to hold that for a while. Then I'm going to put my hands by my chest and push back into my Buddy the Child's pose. Because my back says, ah, and it feels good. Now in this child's pose, I'm going to open my knees a little wider, keep my toes together, and come on my elbows and just move my hips side to side. Because I'm doing a counter pose here. Getting my body to be able to move. And then I'm going to come back up and bring my knees in. And again, we're going to do that camel pose that we did in the beginning. Only this time my back's a little bit more warmed up. So I'm going to take my blocks and place them back here. My bowl is level. My back bend happens from the waist up. So here's the difference. This is what it looks like. This is what a camel pose looks like. I tuck my tail, I lift my heart, and then eventually I take one or both of my hands to my feet. But that's pretty darn deep. So for a beginner, nope, we're going to do a variation of that. But this is what you'll see people do, thinking that they're bending their back. They're going to go for their heels, but watch, they're going back like this, and they're not really bending their back. Everything's right here. They've created an angle where a true back bend is, this is stable. This is the tree trunk. I push my bones forward in my hips, tuck my tail, and lift my heart. And maybe all I can do here for the first 10 years of your practice is to tuck your tail and place your hands on the block. And keep pulling up here, but make sure you can breathe. Or you might take one hand on the block, or you might take one hand up. But it's not back there, it's lifted. And eventually you make your way back, but you don't get a gold star when you go there. Let's try the other side. Lifting up, tuck your tail. It's perfect just the way it is. And then we come up, we inhale, we come up, make sure you can breathe. And then we come back down to a child's pose. or a downward facing dog. Now this time I'm going to do a downward facing dog so you can look at it one more time. It's upside down V, long spine, breathing. It's my resting point. Lifting, pushing into the mat, and then I come up on my toes and I come back down. All right, now it's time for me to do a couple seated postures forward. So I know I'm going to sit on my pillow, so take a forward bend. It's good for me to sit on my pillow, and I'm going to bring the soles of my feet together. Placing my hands on my ankles. This might be really intense. Your knees might be up here, and that's fine. We're not trying to strain or push. But what you are going to do is a cow tilt here. So we inhale up long, so it keeps my tail lifted in the back of my spine long, and I try not to collapse. So I'm breathing here, and I'm feeling, and I'm lengthening, and I can feel my muscles, but I move on the exhalation. I inhale and lengthen, and I exhale and fold. And I inhale and lengthen, and I exhale and fold. And then I can pull up and butterfly my legs, but I'm not straining. I'm just lifting and notice my heart is lifted. And if my heart isn't lifted, I pretty much look like that. Eventually, sometimes for the stretch, you might take it all the way over. Breathing into the sensation. But again, you don't want to give yoga a bad name. It's not about being a pretzel. It's about being aware and feeling. So I can feel this. Now I need to take a counter pose. So I'm going to bring my knees up. And one of the more gentler poses I want to do here is a twist. So I'm going to take my right arm across my thighs and take my left arm out, and I'm going to lift up. Remember, I've got to have a long spine. So I inhale and I grow tall, and I exhale and I move. I inhale, I grow tall, I exhale, I twist. I might take a block and place it right on the back and push into the block to make myself taller. So keep twisting and moving. But I lengthen on the inhalation and I turn on the exhalation. And I lengthen and I twist. And one more time, I lengthen and I twist. I don't twist like this and I don't twist like this. It's always the long spine. You never twist a spine that is not long. And I come back to center and I take a breath. And I feel what it does. That's my key, or my cue. So I'm going to have my block ready on the other side. And you could do this on the floor as well. There's lots of variations of it. Taking my left arm across and my right arm out, I inhale, grow tall, and I exhale, and I take a twist from the waist up. My hips don't twist. Inhale, grow tall, exhale, twist. Watch, it's not my shoulder, it's my spine. Inhale, grow tall, and exhale, twist. When I can't go any further, I place my hand into the block or the floor, and I continue to grow tall and twist. On inhale, grow tall, and exhale, twist. 2 more times. Inhale, grow tall. Watch, and exhale, twist. Last one. Inhale, grow tall. Exhale, twist. And then we release that and come all the way back, and we can feel that. And just take a moment to feel. Okay, and there's lots of positions that we do in a seated, and sometimes this might be too high, but there's all kinds of movements we do, and the poses that we do are designed to make our hips loose so that some of those other poses aren't quite so intense. You could have a straight forward bend, and that brings your arms out and up, and I should have a little pillow here, and I can bend my knees, but the most important thing is I bend my knees and don't try to keep my legs long, because if I do that, then my forward twist is, my forward bend is going to look like this. And remember, I want my forward bend to be a long spine. So here it is, here, and I'll bend my knees so that I can cow tilt as opposed to keeping my legs straight and rounding my spine. And look what happens to my forward bend. It's not happening. You can also put the blocks underneath your knees to support it, and that really helps. And you sit up on that little pillow, but you sit on the edge of the pillow here, not on the whole thing. And that's going to push your hips forward as well. And you inhale up, and you bending, exhale forward. Inhale, lengthen, exhale forward. Inhale, lengthen, exhale forward. And at some point I can drop my hands to my shins, my ankles, and I continue to breathe. And I continue to follow through and feel. And that's going to deepen my stretch here in my hips. If I go here, it becomes much more about my hamstrings, which little by little you can work that in. And eventually, sometimes you might totally round over, but that changes the whole focus of the practice. So it's always, what am I feeling? That's what the question is, what am I feeling? Now from there, often in the yoga class, we're winding down and we're going to come on our backs. So when we come on our backs, we come down, yep, and we bring our knees to our chest, and we grab hold of our knees and we move them around, which feels really good. One direction and the other. Just moving it around. We spend so much time in a seated position. And one of the ways that we release our back is we pull one knee in and the other leg long. If I have a bad back, this is going to hurt, so I would bend my bottom leg. And I can actually pull in. Or if my back is okay, I'm going to take the back of my straight leg and push it to the earth and pull my knee in, breathing here. I can scoop my belly. What does that mean? It means pull the navel back to the spine, pull the elbows to the waist, and lift my head towards my knee. But if I'm straining my neck, that's no good either. I can take my hand behind, or I can engage my belly and make sure it's my abdominal that is lifting and I'm not straining. And then I can take it back down and switch legs. So we bring that left knee in and the right leg stays long or bends if you have a bad back. We squeeze in, pulling in. And you can spend at least 5 breaths here. And then I scoop my belly in and lift my head to my knee, which is massaging my internal organs. Your spleen, your intestines, lifting and breathing, and then I take it down. So I want to stretch here. Taking your arms over your head and stretching your legs. Now, I'm going to bring my arms down. We're going to do what's called bridge pose. Now, bridge pose means you walk your feet right to your buttocks and your shins become perpendicular to the floor. And again, I stack my knees on top of my feet. I'm going to cat tilt, so watch my hips. And then I push into my feet and I lift up, and this is the bridge. And the bridge might need support, so if the bridge needs support, I can put a block under my sacrum, right there to support it until I get strong enough to hold it myself, or you continue to work that. Eventually, you'll bring your hands behind you and really bring the shoulder blades in together, pushing your bridge. Your bridge is that your heart is higher than your head, but that you're pushing your knees out to the ceiling, because that's lifting my hips up. And this is definitely, you have to feel
You take it to your edge, but not to a place of pain. And we breathe. This is the bridge pose. And typically speaking, you hold this as long as it's comfortable or as the teacher guides. And if it's not comfortable and the class is still there, you come out of it. The thing with this is you're not on your neck, you're on your shoulders. You want to be real careful that you're not on your neck. And don't turn your head side to side while you're here. And we come out of it by dropping down one vertebra at a time. And it's really yummy. Take it slow. And then we bring our knees back up and move it around. So one of the things that we almost always end a class with is a spinal twist. I'm going to do a really straightforward spinal twist here. I take my arms out to the side. I'm going to extend my left leg and keep my right knee up. I'm going to take my left hand and grab hold of my knee and keep this left leg long and strong as we just twist like it's a pretzel. That this is a pencil, the bottom leg is a pencil, and you twist over. I'm not yanking, I'm very gently guiding. And I'm looking to the opposite direction. There should be no pain here. And my opposite shoulder should be towards the earth. In other words, you don't want to pop it off. We'll show it on the other side. So now I bring my left knee up and my right hand guides. Now watch my shoulder on this side. It should not pop off the earth. If it does, like so, I've gone too far. I want to keep that shoulder towards the earth and looking. Now if that's too much, put a blanket or a pillow under your shoulder because you should be feeling this, a nice twist here, not the shoulder tweaking. What it is stretching the chest, definitely, but there shouldn't be any pain. And that's the basic spinal twist, reclining, but there's lots of versions of that. But it's always that you are looking in the opposite direction that your knee's going to, and that you're not torquing. Always about where's my body. And then we usually finish that up, coming back, taking a deep breath, and then we prepare for what's called Shavasana, final relaxation pose. Now for me, in Shavasana, I'm not real comfortable with just flat out. Some people can lie like that. Now we let the toes drop out. Everything's soft. Sometimes people need something under their head. But it's a great thing, if you can, to place something under your knees, support your lower back. And that way I can let my feet drop out. Oh, that feels good. I want to check my shoulders and my jaw to see that they're relaxed. Because everything that we did up to this point in the class prepares us for this. Everything is releasing the body so that we can go into a deeper state of stillness. And so we've released all the tension from the body, and now we do the opposite. We let the muscles fall away from the bones like jello. And we just breathe. And we feel. And very often in the class, it appears to be the easiest. It's actually the hardest because your body is quiet, but then guess what takes over? Your mind. And this is where you have to take your mind and focus either on your breath or your heart. Sometimes the teacher will do a guided meditation which helps you to just experience quiet. Watching your breath. Be still and know that I am. gets you in touch with yourself, which ultimately gets you in touch with your higher self as well. Now, we stay in Shavasana anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes, sometimes longer, which is really yummy. But for now, you start to bring yourself out, move your fingers and toes. And we're going to draw our knees to our chest and bring ourselves back very slowly. And then we usually roll on our sides in the fetal position. The teacher will guide you to do that. And you stay there for a few moments, taking it slow. And then we push in to come back to where we started. All the way back to where we started, where I put the pillow underneath my hips. I find that comfortable seated position, whatever that is. I stay interiorized. Lifting my tail behind me lengthens my spine. And I've completed my practice, and now I'm ready for meditation or for my day. So we always honor practice, bringing your hands to your heart center and wanting for the world peace. And peace will happen in the world when peace happens within ourselves, which is why we practice. We feel and honor that peace within ourselves. We practice gratitude. And then we always say namaste. And people ask, what does namaste mean? Namaste means that the spirit in me, my soul, my spirit, bows to your soul and your spirit. So we end the class by chanting Om sometimes, Om, and then we say Namaste.